Well, the Indianapolis Colts may have once again outsmarted the rest of the NFL by getting the guy they want and getting him as what PFF is grading as the steal of the draft. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe and join the community as we continue to build this into something really, really cool. But we're going into the off-season. And in the off-season, we're starting OTAs this week and all of this. But I think it's important to note of this new report that comes out via the Horseshoe Huddle. And this is what it has to say. The Colts have a rookie pass catcher from the NFL draft regarded as the best fit for his position. And then it goes on to say, the Indianapolis Colts had plenty of things to be excited about after finishing the 2023 season with a 9-8 record. However, while the defense needed a bit more depth and skill, the offense was missing more firepower from the pass catchers to take the next step in becoming a contender in the AFC. And it goes on to say, it talks about eventually it says this. Mitchell's landing with the Colts at number 52 could go down as the steal of the draft. Indianapolis already has a true X receiver in Michael Pittman and a reliable slot receiver in Josh Downs. The Colts are missing a vertical threat as a final piece of their 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver sets. They filled it with a 6'2", 205-pound receiver who runs a 4.34 second 40-yard dash and jumps out of the gym with as much better route running than most players his size. Yeah, consider me excited about that. And that's from Trevor Sikkema at Pro Football Focus. Now, I know we've covered Adonai Mitchell pick a lot, and it was one of the most buzzed about picks in the entire draft. It led to one of my favorite Chris Ballard sound bites of all time. Getting to see our GM really defend players that way, I think was really, really encouraging and really fun to see, and really kind of bought me back in on the Chris Ballard train, if we're being honest. But the report goes on to this. Mitchell is not the most experienced draft receiver, but shows enough during his time with Georgia, 2021 and 2022, and Texas in 2023, to convince Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard that he is the guy to help Richardson. Mitchell possesses fantastic athleticism, skill, and technical ability to help a quarterback like Richardson with nearly any throw. However, it's not just Richardson who will benefit from Mitchell's presence. The rest of Indy's patch catchers will also have a chance to mesh with Mitchell and form a potent unit in the NFL. It's funny that they use the word mesh there. The Colts ran the mesh concept almost more than anyone else in the NFL. But I think there's more to analyze here, because it's not just like, oh, the Colts got Mitchell at 52. There were concerns about this, that, and the other. So first, let's talk about the problem. The problem was Indy's receivers. And really, you can say Indy's quarterbacks. We didn't have a great quarterback room just because we didn't have it. Anthony Richardson went down. We had Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew did great in a pinch, but let's be honest, he wasn't there. Ranking in the league, the Colts ranked in the bottom 20 in receptions, or in receiving yards. Only the Ravens, Falcons, Raiders, Broncos, Titans, Cardinals, Steelers, and Bears and Panthers did worse than the Colts. Yards per reception, they were the 15th. Touchdowns, they were near dead last in the league with 18 touchdowns. So the problem was clearly there. And again, you can blame that on the quarterback. You can blame that on whatever. I truthfully think that there were some issues on the wide receiver room. So then the solution is, who do you draft at wide receiver? And how do you not overreach for him? So the rankings for wide receiver before the draft. This is an article that was posted before the draft because I wanted to get what was everyone thinking towards toward end of the offseason beginning. And they had obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1, Malik Neighbors at number 2, Rome Odunze at number 3, Brian Thomas Jr. at number 4, and then at number 5, they have Adonai Mitchell at 6'4", 196, and obviously he came in at actually 10 pounds higher than that by the time that the combine happened. Mitchell surprised many with his decision to transfer to Georgia and Texas prior to the 2023 campaign. After all, he seemed poised to become a household name after hauling in some of the most memorable touchdowns in Georgia's long and storied history, helping the Bulldogs to become back-to-back national championships with game-winning grabs in playoffs to defeat Alabama and Ohio State the previous 2 seasons. Instead, the Texas natives chose to come home to be closer to his young daughter and put up the best numbers of his college career, more than duplicating his previous 2 years of production at Georgia and becoming Big 12's offensive newcomer of the year with 55 grabs for 845 yards and 11 scores for the conference champs. So I think that when people looked at Adonai Mitchell at number 52, they looked at the Colts as overreaching. I think a lot of people just marked him out. Like I was watching a lot of people's first round drafts and they didn't have him. Even the first 2 rounds, Adonai Mitchell was just nowhere to be found. Xavier Worthy became this big name, but you look at the beginning of the offseason, Xavier Worthy wasn't up there. There were 10 receivers that went before Adonai Mitchell. So how did the Colts get this guy, and why did the Colts get this guy? Now, we talk a lot about RAS, specifically with the Indianapolis Colts, and that's relative athletic score. And I think it's important to know what that the Colts, no team drafts based on RAS more than the Indianapolis Colts. And that's just because, they believe in natural ability, natural athleticism, all of that. So what is Adonai Mitchell's RAS? Because I think it's incredibly interesting, and I guarantee you will not be shocked at all once I tell you. Adonai Mitchell's RAS score is 9.99 out of 10. The only thing that he doesn't have that they really wanted more of was weight at 205. Everything else is graded as an elite receiver. 40-yard dash was elite. The composite explosion grade was elite, and that judges vertical and the cone drill. So it's judging based on what you're able to do. But where does that rank among wide receivers? Because if the Colts were going to get a wide receiver in the 2024 NFL draft, who were they going to get? Who were they going to choose? So of all 2024 draft wide receiver prospects, the Rome Odunze had a 9.92. Xavier Legette had a 9.89. Brian Thomas Jr. had a 9.82. Looking at the other ones, McCaffrey had a 9.42. McConkey had a 9.30. And Troy Franklin had an 8.98. Our guy, Adonai Mitchell, got a 9.99. He was the number 1 wide receiver in all of college football coming into this year. I mean, you can't get a higher than a 9.9. I've never seen a 10.0 on the RAS scale. So it's clear that from the beginning, the Colts had Adonai Mitchell in mind at their second-round pick. And I truthfully believe if there was a team, they would have traded up. But somehow they didn't have to. And that's why I think the Colts outsmarted the rest of the NFL. Because they were able to get a guy who has the build size of a DK Metcalf with the catch and traffic abilities of a George Pickens, who he played with George Pickens for 2 seasons. And I think it's incredibly interesting to see this and to see that somehow through all of this that Chris Ballard still got his guy. And I'm excited to see Adonai Mitchell in this explosive Colts offense. It's going to take up a lot of the effort away from the rest of the Colts receivers. They're going to be able to get open more because more attention is going to be given to this explosive 9.99 RAS wide receiver in Adonai Mitchell.